Okay. Now we're going into the blue school. And so we're going to do these exercises. And this is the lowest level. This is the only level they let me work on. It's considered their lowest level, but it's really great for what we're doing. It's preparation for interdimensional experience. That's what it is, but it's just the beginning of this, and then they go deeper in a different kind of way. Anyway, I'm going to sit down while we do this. Okay. There's certain rules, so we're going to play it like a game. And like I said, don't get serious about it. There's not going to be no tests or flunks or anything. And so just figure when we actually go into this thing, you have to have your feet flat on the ground. You can't cross anything, not even your eyes, nothing. You have to totally be feet flat and your hands like this. And your back as straight as you can get. You shouldn't even be touching the back. Your back should be straight. Now this is just in the exercise. The moment I said, okay, open your eyes, you could, if you want, I don't care. It's just during the exercise, and they're very strict about that. And let's see what else there is. Oh yeah, I forgot one more thing to talk about. I got to talk about something first. It's about seeing. A lot of people, when they close their eyes, people will say, well, I can't see. All I see is black. I can't see anything. Claudette's response was, well, can you dream? Have you ever dreamed? Yes. 10 years ago. And she says, well, you can see. And so we all can see, but a lot of times we think we can't. And so you just have to relax and just let go, and again, play it like a game, like you're a little child, and don't worry. I am going to do two different tests to see how you do see. I want to identify if there are people who can't see, but they can, but they don't know they can. And I'm trying to identify those people is what I'm trying to do. And there are 4 ways of seeing. One is male, one is female, one is both, and one is neutral or neither. And this male, female, both, and neutral is a pattern that goes throughout all chemistry and throughout all kinds of other levels of reality. But the male way of seeing is very different than the female way. It's when I was talking about that spectrum thing before, it's kind of the same. You have the male here on this end and the female on this end. And if you tell a male to, say we're doing guided imagery, and I say, see an apple. If it's a pure male, which doesn't exist, and neither does a pure female. We're all partly male and female mixed together at different levels. But a pure male, if you told them to see an apple, they close their eyes and there would be an apple there. I mean, it would be just like looking at television or something. There would be an apple, and they could rotate it, and they could turn it this way, and they could dissect it and do all kinds of things with it. But males are very, 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 very visual. And but then you have a female on the other side, a pure female, and you ask her to see an apple, nothing appears, nada, just nothing. But she can feel and sense the apple there that she can't see. And she could tell you everything about that apple. She could go on for hours about that apple. She could tell you what it tastes like, and where it came from, and who grew it, and on and on and on, and anything else you could think of. But she's not seeing an apple. There isn't anything there. Well, most of us are somewhere in the middle. And if you're more male, you're going to be more visual. And the more female you are, the more you're going to be just sensing and feeling things. But usually there's a lot of people in the middle that can kind of see an apple, and they can kind of sense, and they can kind of... But you put all those things together, and you come up with information about whatever you're looking at. And so you got to trust yourself. If I say see something and you don't see anything, you go, oh, I failed. I didn't do it. It's over. Just realize that you may be seeing more toward the female side. And at which point, if you don't see something, then sense it, feel it. Become sensitive in another way. We have all kinds of ways, and we mix all those things together to come up with our what we believe what that we're seeing. And so this is really true in this imagery work that we're about to do. Now, I think we're ready. Okay. So the other thing you need is a pencil and paper. 1, 2. I think we're only going to do 2 tests and 4 or 5 examples. And so each time you write about a little paragraph on what you're going to write down what you saw, felt, and experienced. Okay. The other thing is, I'm going to put us into the imagery work. When I ask you to come out, open your eyes and come out, and these things are short. They're usually only a minute to maybe 3 minutes long. They're not very long usually. But we spend a long time afterwards. And so when you come out, do not talk to anyone, and don't think. Before you even think, don't think, gee, start thinking about what happened or anything like that. Write it down. Just write down what you saw and happen, and try to write it without changing anything. Whatever your first impression is, if you saw a red car, and you start thinking, well, maybe it was maroon. Forget it. Go back to the red. Whatever your first indication is almost always the truth, because what's going on is your ego is in there going, I don't like red. I like maroon. Make it maroon. and so it changes everything, and it isn't true. And so that's why I want you to write everything down that experienced as cleanly as possible. After you've got it on words, then you can think about it and talk to somebody else if you want, because you can't change what's on the paper. And so that's why we're doing it in this way. Okay? All right. So with the paper and pencil, put it down on the ground or somewhere so it's not a distraction, but where you can get to it very quickly. And then when we start, we go very straight with our spines, feet on the ground, like that, and close your eyes. If you have your mass, right? I think this is an ongoing debate between me and my wife, but I believe that the mask is better. She thinks it isn't, but I really do from my things here. Light affects your pineal gland, and when you're trying to shut it down to get into, you want to be totally dark. In fact, you don't even want light on your skin, but mostly through your eyes is the biggest one. You might as well get used to it, because we're going to be using these things all the time now. Okay, here we go. We're going to begin with 2 tests. You do not have to write these 2 tests down. So everybody put your mask on. Put your hands on your knees, your feet flat, your back straight. And we're going to go. Now just relax. And if you need to cough or anything, do it now. Boy, you've been waiting for that for 10 minutes, probably. Okay. Okay. And just breathe gently. Try to breathe rhythmically right now, where you're breathing the same length of time in as you're bringing out. Don't worry about 7 seconds in or anything. It could be 2 seconds in, but keep the time that you're breathing in the same as whatever time you're exhaling, and try to get into a rhythm with this breathing. In your inner imagination, see the number 3 glowing bright in front of you. Just the best you can. Now feel yourself beginning to move toward this. This number 3, by the way, represents the Holy Trinity. And so feel yourself moving toward this number 3 and getting closer and closer and closer and closer until you move right through it to the other side. Now see the number 2 glowing bright in front of you. It stands for duality. Now start moving toward that one and getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And now move right through it to the other side. Now see the number 1, tall and bright, in front of you. It stands for unity and oneness. And feel yourself moving toward this one also, getting closer and closer and closer. Only this time, don't move through it. Move right into the column of light. In your imagination, move both arms straight out on both sides of you. And feel them straight out. Now see your arms growing longer until they go all the way and touch a wall. And some of you are right next to a wall, so you're going to be close to it, but your other arm has to go all the way across the room to touch another wall. So see your arms touching both walls. Now see that your head and your neck is growing longer and longer till your head goes all the way up and touches the ceiling. You're getting all these strange shapes now. In your imagination, turn your head to the left 90 degrees. Now in your imagination, turn it straight ahead again. And now turn 90 degrees to the right. And then back straight again. Now let your arms go right through the walls and go about maybe 100 meters, about 300 feet or so, a football field, out on either side of you. And reach down and touch the texture on the ground. Now move your arms all the way to the horizon, like you're holding the planet. Now touch the texture of this distant landscape. When you can feel this texture, open your eyes and seeing yourself enormous and huge, these arms. When it feels complete, just remove your mask. This is just a test, so it doesn't mean anything. How many people could not do this? Okay, 7 people. Just with you over here, could you do any of it, or could you not be even?
I became, can't visually see it, but in my mind's eye, I played it out. So I feel like I sort of might have done it, but for the actual colors and visualizations and things like that, no.
But you could kind of feel like you could feel your arms getting longer, but you couldn't see it, right?
Yes, I would have short, mental, garbled pictures in my mind, but not vivid.
Okay, that's all right.
Okay.
And were you this? Who was the other person?
I don't know if it's because I was tired, but I couldn't stay with the conversation. I was having trouble staying with you, and I couldn't remember.
I
And then I would
understand.
see a color, and then I would get into the color, and I couldn't remember what's going on. And then I
Yeah.
thought, am I supposed to put my hands out? I just kept getting so confused, and I could see my hands going out to the side, and then I put my hands down because I knew they weren't supposed to be going out this way. But I was just so confused. I saw a lot of color.
You know, we're at about 4,500 feet right here, and if you've been here, if this is your third day or more, and you're coming from a lower atmosphere, like the ocean or somewhere, you're going to get sleepy for a while. Unfortunately, it happens to be while the workshop's going on. And it takes about, I think, another 3 days or so, and then all of a sudden your energy kicks back in.
I came from Palm Springs. That's about as low as you can get in the desert.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I was just really, and I was having trouble, before we took the break, I was having difficulty staying awake. I just kept nodding and.
I know.
You know.
It is a problem. The last school I had was at 8,500 feet. People would come there and just literally drop over. Just on the floor. Hey, home? They don't answer. It really affects you with that one, but...
But the numbers, I got real clear. I could see the numbers.
Yeah, no, you're doing fine. You're just tired is all. And then on top of that, you've got a lot of people here with jet lag, so... we just have to deal with this. It's just the way it is. Usually I'm the one with the jet lag, and they don't. I'm up here just barely able to keep my eyes open. And so I'm not worried about either one of you, actually. Who's...
I had to imagine it, like, I couldn't see it, and I couldn't see the numbers. And then I started seeing geometric shapes, and they were black and blue. Like, it was black.
That's
and
okay.
the shapes
You're
were
fine, no
blue.
problem.
Okay.
It's not a problem. You're seeing. You don't have to see what I tell you to see. This is another part of the school, which is kind of interesting. You get the instructions, and your body may do something totally different. That's okay. They don't have a problem with that at all. It's the body knows what it's doing, and so you might say do something and put your arms out, and instead your head goes up or something else like that. Those kind of things are all right. And there's another one that is really interesting to me. A lot of people, you say close your eyes, and the next thing they remember is open your eyes, and they don't remember anything in the middle at all. And they tell me that that's the highest form of all. What do I know? You know? So if I see that going on, you don't worry about it. They are going where they're supposed to go, and they're doing everything they're supposed to do. They just don't remember what it is, and it's okay. Okay, we're going to do another test, and then we're going to go for it. Put on the darkness. Take a deep inhale and blow out through a small hole in your lips and see a white mist coming out. One more time. Take another breath and either see or sense or feel this white mist coming out of your lips. Now look into the black field with your eyes closed and see a point of light that seems to be at a great distance. You can either see it, or you can sense it, or you can feel it. Now feel yourself being drawn to this point of light, that you're moving toward it, or it's moving toward you. See yourself getting closer and closer to it. And as you get closer, watch to see how the light changes color. And what is its color? Identify, if it's many colors, choose one. Now as you get really close, let this color fill your field of view. See yourself all around it, or within it. Now don't try to think on this one. Now see the opposite color in your body, whatever that means. When you see and know both colors, open your eyes. Take off your mask. Same question. Who could not do this? Okay, let me see. Okay, there's 10 people. I'm going to try this in a slightly different way. Of these 10 people, how many of those 10 people could originally see or sense or feel a point of light at a great distance? You could? You could? Okay, then everyone else, I'm not worried about you guys. The other, that leaves about 4 or 5. Those other ones, you could not see the point of light at all, right? Or sense or feel anything. So of those 8 people, did you see absolutely nothing? Nothing happened at all? It was just blackness the whole time? That the people that were just seeing that they don't have any sensing going on, because if they have sensing going on, then it's just as good. It doesn't matter. If you've got a lot of feminine way of sensing things, you may never see anything through this whole thing. Just not really nothing shows up, but yet you can go on and on and on about what happened there, but it's not from seeing. It's from other parts of you that are coming forth. So, I want to know now that the people that feel that they didn't see, sense, or feel anything. Well, I got you. Okay, you didn't feel anything, didn't sense anything, didn't feel anything, nothing happened.
I tried to imagine a light, but I still could not see it, even in my imagination. And when you talked about colors, nothing, just black. Could not imagine. Sometimes, most of the time, I don't see, but I can imagine. But this time, I could not even imagine colors.
Okay, let me see the hands again of those people, so I can see. Is you, okay. You. Okay. All right, let's go. We're going to actually do the real thing now. This is about as much as I can, information I can gather right now. So we're going to do the real thing. Again, remember, if I say see something, it means see, sense, or feel. And so just because you don't see anything doesn't mean that you aren't connected to the experience of what's happening. You want the eyes closed under the mask, not open. It isn't that you can't do it with your eyes open. It has to do with the pineal gland. And the pineal gland, the darker it is, the better it is. But there is a difference. If you go home and experiment with these masks and see the difference when you're meditating with your eyes open or your eyes closed, after a while you can feel the difference. And if you really want to get better, you turn off all the lights, get completely black where you can't see your hand, and then it's ideal. Because what science has found, I worked with Dr. James Hart for a long time with his, still do, and he's a brain researcher. And when they need to get the pineal shut off, they not only have to put they've tried masks, and it works to a degree, but not completely. And so they put you in this room that is absolutely not a photon bouncing around in that light. And then the pineal gland shuts off completely. So what I do is I go into a very, very dark room. I get under the bed, under the sheets, and clothes and everything, so I got darkness in there and my mask on. And you'll find that when you get sensitive to what this means, that really makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. Not just in this work, but in a lot of other work in meditation. Because otherwise you got your little brain clicking on, going, 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 going. The moment you can eliminate all light, the brain goes and stops. It requires light or it can't function very well. Okay, here we go. Put on your mask. I'm going to be talking about a sphere. I'm going to be talking about that sphere I'm going to be talking about is Leonardo's sphere. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? Does anybody does not know what the Leonardo sphere is? It's that sphere that's right out at your fingertips. You know, if you remember the Leonardo drawing with the arms going straight out and the legs going out, and there's a square, and then there's a perfect sphere around you. That's the sphere. It's a sphere that completely contains the body. That's all you need to know, just the sphere that completely contains the body. So you can't stretch your way out of it, you're inside of it. Okay, here we go. Take a deep breath and exhale, seeing the white mist, blow it out between your lips. Another deep breath and blow out the white mist. And see it or sense it or feel it as it's going out. Now imagine that you are in a sphere of light, the Leonardo sphere, completely around you. So sense or see or feel that sphere of light around you. And feel or sense or see the light inside this sphere, it's a lit up sphere of light. Now see and feel yourself gently lifting off the ground and floating just a few centimeters or a couple inches above the ground. And you're just weightless and floating. Now feel yourself slowly begin to rise off the seat and beginning to float up into the air, higher and higher and higher, until your bubble touches the ceiling. And feel yourself very slowly bouncing off the ceiling. Now feel yourself float right through the roof and above this room by 50 meters, about 150 feet or so, up into the sky, and look around you and see the horizon all around you. You can see it or sense it or feel it all around you. Now slowly rotate in whatever direction you want to go, one time around, 360 degrees, while you're watching the horizon. And then when you go one time around, stop. Now see and know that you, on this level, have eyes in the back of your head. What does it feel like to see in both directions at once? Now see and know that you really have eyes all over your body. Every pore of your body is an eye. You can see in all directions at once. Feel what it is like to see spherically. Now see whatever it is that is important for you to see anywhere in the world. When this feels complete, open your eyes, immediately write down your experience without talking or thinking. Okay. Is there anybody here, if you're writing, go ahead and keep writing. But if there's anybody here that's finished, would like to tell me your experience. And I'm just going to ask 2 or 3 people.
Okay, I flew right through the ceiling before you told, so very high, so I had to come back. Then I could look around. I just had difficulties to look behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I could see till there, but not behind me. Afterwards, I could see very well the sphere, and I still feel very hot. Got very excited.
Yeah.
And then there were 2 images that came to me. It was a monk walking up to the mountain in Tibet, and the other side of the world I saw Indians doing a ceremony, and I think it was Mexico. Voila.
Okay. Again, what did it feel like? Because you could see spherically, though, right? You had trouble with front and back, but you could see everywhere at once.
Well, before, when you told to turn, I couldn't go behind.
Oh, I see. But you could see spherically?
Oh, yeah.
What did that feel like?
Oh, I felt very excited. I'm still am, actually. I'm all hot.
Okay. One more person.
I could feel myself going up and going beyond this building and seeing spherically. And in order for me to see behind, I had to let go of my form and totally turn, as if my spirit was free from the body, being able to turn. Mm-hmm. I had a little bit of difficulty seeing simultaneously, but it took a while of programming myself to giving me the intention, look forward and backward at the same time. But then when you said, go to somewhere of a person in need, and all of a sudden I was in this town, and there was a very, very sick old woman, and she was sitting in a chair. There was a dog, and everything was the earth, and I felt that it was Brazil. And I came up to her, and she says, oh, I'm too sick to go to John of God. And I just sat there, and it was very hard to leave afterwards. I remember my hand positioning, and as if I was taking something off of her. It was an energy, like as if I was stroking that energy off of her. It was very hard to come back because she didn't want to let me go. She was holding on to my hand. Mm-hmm. And so it was a very powerful experience because she was needing a lot of help.
Well, this is what I mean. We didn't say that, of course, but that's what she heard. And in doing
you didn't
that...
say that?
No. No, it's perfect. There was somebody down there in Brazil needed you. And you went down there. Yeah, on those levels, you're an incredible healer. You can heal anything. Uh-huh. You're just like John of God at that point. You can do anything in those levels. And so, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. We're going to go now to the second one. The next one. So put on your mask. Okay, on with your mask. We have a stagecoach coming. And it doesn't need all that gold. Deep inhale, seeing the white mist come out of your lips. Now again, see yourself back inside this sphere of light. And just lift off a little tiny bit, just so that you're floating. You can feel yourself breaking the bonds of gravity. Bring your attention to your knees. Now bring your attention to your shoulders. Now bring your attention to your ears. Now allow your hearing to expand and let your hearing become amazingly enhanced. Listen to every tiny detail in this room. Now let your hearing expand out beyond this room to maybe 50 meters all the way around, 150 feet or so, just out, whatever feels right. Get way out there. And now listen to everything inside that sphere of what's happening outside this room. Now let your sphere of hearing expand out about 5 miles or so. Now let your hearing expand all the way to the horizon, all the way around you. And now you can go anywhere and listen to anything that you want to hear, anywhere in the world. Now bring your hearing back to your body in this room, and go inside your ears and inside your body, and listen to the sounds deep within your body. Now turn your hearing to your body itself and let it talk to you and tell you whatever it wishes to say to you. Now bring your attention back outside of your body to this room, and in your sphere of light, lift off, go up to the ceiling, go through the ceiling to the outside, and now let yourself fly, move freely all over Sedona. From the air, Sedona is incredible. And have fun doing it. Swoop around, dive. You'll also discover that you can go right through solid rock. How does this make you feel? Now, while you're flying, be aware of your body here in this room, as well as yourself flying. When you feel both bodies at once, open your eyes and begin to write down your experience. If you're still writing, keep writing, but if you're done and you would like to talk about what happened, raise your hand.
As you're describing, I would do as you described, fall into it and then come out of it, and I would remember it for 1 second, and then I completely forget. And then the next chunk that would happen, come out of it, next second I would completely forget, and then this last bit, and I only remember for literally a fraction of a second, but I don't remember anything now.
Well, as I understand it, that's perfect. That's okay. Seems weird. I thought it was weird too, but they said no, that's okay. we've had lots of people who just, they remember to say, close your eyes, and all they remember is open your eyes. They don't remember anything in the middle. But the school says that when you're in that state, you're so much into it that you can't, when you come out of it, you can't bring it back. And that it's okay. You've done exactly what you're supposed to do, you just don't remember. And so it's okay.
What's the point of the exercise?
The point of the exercise is change something within you.
So it's
And-
rewiring.
Well, yes, and so even if you don't remember, it still happened.
I'm going to have to trust you on that. What I found was that there is a difference in perspective. When I'm flying around, I'm either inside my body or I'm observing my body. So, but I can only feel things when I'm inside my body, and I would go back and forth between imagining it as observing and being inside, actually having it happen to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but the only problem I have with doing this is I'm not an expert like my wife, and so she could just tell you everything and...
Can you get her on your cell phone?
Maybe.
But I found that one was more comfortable than the other, too.
Yeah.
So it was more comfortable to be outside than in, both for the hearing and for all of these exercises.
Mm-hmm. To be outside of your body?
To be outside of my body.
Yeah.
That it took more work, and it was harder to stay inside.
So when you were flying, you had experience of flying?
Yeah, it was like flying dreams.
But it's like you're observing it rather than observing yourself flying rather than actually flying?
Right. But when I was actually inside flying, it was like the flying dreams where you're diving and it's it's really fun. But when I was observing it, there was no sense, there was no feeling, there was no real experience other than just the imagining of it.
Well, I mean, from the male point of view, when you can sense and you're inside your body and then you're flying, that's a better way, from my point of view. But I don't know what my wife would say. I never know. And so I can't help you in that. I'm just, we're using this because I found that these exercises seem to help people in a very unusual way. And I was going to stop it a long time ago. I tried stopping it once before. And I found that it's better to do it, even though I don't fully understand everything here in this level. But if you can ever get to one of my wife's workshops, I think she can really change things fast. Yeah.
I didn't realize that when I started flying that I would remember my dream time as a child too. Had a lot of flying dreams when I was young, and it reminded me of that. As soon as you mentioned about going into the rock, I was there, and I had a great sense of sorrow. And I could see Indians, but I don't know enough about identifying what they were, who they were. And then also a sense of dimensional, but felt like I needed to back away, so I did, just out of safety, I guess, or not wanting to interfere, but I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, with the native people, most of definitely their religious life is underground rather than overground. There's far more going on not inside the earth than there is external. But I think you were just remembering when you were a kid what it was like to go inside those, because there's openings in there and there's life in those openings almost always. I'm discovering now that there's life everywhere inside the earth. I've got a whole nother thing going on right now I can't talk about it too much because it's another level of this work, but inside the earth is just one big ball of living life. There's so much in there, it's just crazy. Now, I didn't know this, but then I talked to some of the elders. They go, "Oh yeah, of course we know all that stuff." I go, "Well, when you ever tell me this stuff? You weren't ready." But it's interesting. These two are kind of, people enjoy these last two. I don't know why they enjoy them so much, but they always seem to. And these two are medicinal. They affect polarities in your body, and the results of these two things will continue adjusting, making adjustments in your body according to the Hebrews for about 30 days. And so they also trigger feelings, and so I just have to tell you, I mean, you might be driving your car somewhere 2 weeks from now and all of a sudden start crying, and it's because of what we're about to do. It's okay. If it happens, just let it go. Something's been altered, changed within you. Okay, put on your mask. Take a deep breath again and blow out the white mist. And see or sense or feel that mist coming out of you. And one more time. Put your attention to your toes. And in your imagination, wiggle them. Bring your attention to your elbows. Bring your attention to your eyes. Turn the light of your eyes inward and go down inside your body, seeing with that light as you go inside your body and go down your neck and into your left lung. When you go into the lung, you can feel the space that is inside of there. Look around you and see the colors, or either the color or the colors that are inside your left lung. Choose one of these colors, the one that feels right. And now feel yourself moving into this color, and this color expanding all around you like a fog. And so this colored fog is all around you. Within this fog is a female guardian that guards the left side of your body. Ask her to come forth out of this fog so that you can see her, or sense her, or feel her. And just look into her eyes. And she has a message for you. Listen to this message. She also has an object to give to you. Let her reach forth and give you the object, and take it in your left hand. When you get the object in your left hand, put your attention on the object and look at it. Study it very carefully, because it might be something you don't quite understand. If there's writing on it, or images, or petroglyphs, or anything like that, try to look at all these things, see what they are. If the object opens, open it up and see what is inside. It may open, may not, but if it does, look inside. When you feel like you've studied the object and you understand as much as you can, and open your eyes and write down your experience. Now, we got one more. And we're almost done for the day. Deep breath. Blowing out the white mist. Seeing and feeling this mist. And one more time, do it again. Bring your attention to your elbows, to your shoulders, and to your eyes. Now turn your light of your eyes inward again. go down inside and use that light to see as you go in and go into your right lung. In the right lung, again, there will be colors in there. First, see what they are, and then choose one of those colors and let it grow into a fog that surrounds you. On the right side of your body, there's a male guardian there. Ask him to come out of the fog so you could see him. He also has a message for you. Listen to this message of what he has to say. This message is from his heart. And he also has an object to give to you. When he hands you the object, take it with your right hand. And again, study it carefully. If it opens, look inside of it. Now, look down at the object in your right hand. Look down at the object that the female gave you in your left hand. And bow to the male guardian and turn from him. And feel yourself moving to your heart chakra, your lower heart chakra. When you get there, look out of your body in the direction that you always do. And feel what your body feels like, your whole body, holding these two objects at the same time. How do you feel? These objects represent polarities within your body, and we're about to do something that's going to change those polarities. Look down at both objects, see the female object in your left hand, the male object in your right hand, and now switch them. And put the male object in your female hand and your female object in your male hand. How do you feel? What is happening with your body right now? If it feels good, even if it feels okay, even if it feels neutral, leave them there. But if it doesn't feel good, if it hurts or doesn't feel good, then switch them back. But if you can, leave them there. And then when it feels complete, open your eyes and write down your experience. You can keep writing if you want, but if there's anybody that feels they want to talk.
So, out of the blue fog came a man who said, "Take this gift into the world." And then he handed me a dove, which became many doves, and which became then music. And my question would be, when I was switching objects, I kind of had to sense that there was a dove there, because once it became music, it's like it became unto the world. And so, kind of intuitively sensed it after switching, and then after switching it brought my heart rate up a little bit, but then it eased down and I felt comfortable again.
Yeah, if you can hold it there. What's going on is these are, you start out balanced at some point with your polarities, but over time things happen on the left, between the male and female polarities of your body. And those two objects are representing the change that needs to bring balance back into your body. And so what this exercise does is, if you can switch them, it begins to change and balance these polarities in both sides of the body. But some people, when they do it, I've had people get sick right on the spot here. I mean, they cannot do it or fall over and faint. I mean, they just really can't hold the energy. And if you can't do it, it's okay. You have to switch them back.
Yeah, so mine wasn't really a person figure. It was a lion that came out of the mist.
That's okay too.
And
we didn't say it was a male
yeah, and
human
so
person.
I could tell he was a male because he had a massive penis at first, dragging him around, but as he appeared, it kind of receded
super
back
male.
into normal size and whatnot. And then I was like, all right, that's odd. But he told me that I was the king of my kingdom, and I was actually the king of the universe. And around his neck was a bell on a golden ribbon, and the bell itself was covered in symbols of circles and straight lines, and then the inside of the bell was lined perfectly like clear crystal. And so,
Is that what he gave you?
Yeah, that's what he gave me. And holding that in my right hand, and I switched it over to my left hand, which from the female side was a twin clear crystal, but with a green phantom crystal on the inside, which at that time an angel had actually arisen out of it. And it's weird because this is awkward, but it was almost as though it was a crystal vagina that the angel had risen out of. I switched him over, and all of a sudden I felt my entire self kind of swirling together, and I felt almost a little nauseous at first as far as the swirling around went. But then the two items blended into one, to where it was the crystal that she had given me was actually the ringer of the bell on the inside. And while ringing the bell, it was emanating almost an angelic tone that was very, very soothing and made me feel very, very comfortable and pleased with the blending. And the nausea kind of went away, and I actually felt very whole. So.
Well, that's what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't always do that.
Cool.
But what happens, I'm going to end that here. For the few people that couldn't handle it and had to switch it, then you have special instructions. If you do, it's up to you whether you want to do them or not, but you would mark on a calendar 30 days from today, 60 days from today, and 90 days from today. And 30 days from now, you would go back into meditation, see the two objects while you're inside your heart chakra, and then switch them again and see if you can handle that. Because a lot has been going on in those 30 days. And if that works, fine. But if it still can't do it, switch them back, wait another 30 days, and another 30 days. If after 90 days, 3 times, if you can't do it, you just cannot keep those things in that position, then just forget it and leave them there. But it is a very powerful, very ancient way of balancing the polarities in your body by getting the images of what is needed to do that. If you did the same exercise, say 2 or 3 months from now, you may get different objects. You may get different stuff because you've changed in that length of time. And so anyway, this gives you a flavor of what the ground level is of the Blue School, but they really go much, much deeper than this. And unlike me, when you say something about about it, she would know exactly what to say back to you because she's had so much training. You have to have to do this school. You have to have minimum of 12 years, I believe it is, of training. So it's much more than a college degree or a PhD or anything else like that. It takes a long time. And she's had many more, I think 30 years or something. She's been a long time studying. This is the only thing she's ever studied. And so I found that these little things that we just did really do help the balance of what we need in the next 4 days. So now I'm going to talk about tomorrow. And remember, tonight, you write the word reversing on there and do that thing for the reversing. And one more thing. You write reversing on the table, you reverse your day and do the whole thing, and then you lay down. But when you go to sleep tonight, see yourself as you're sleeping, walking into your dream, holding the two objects in whatever way you have them now. Just go into the dream with the two objects, and whatever happens, happens after that. Okay? Let me go back to tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a completely, totally, utterly different day. And we're going to talk about the human body and healing, because it's important for us to get things more in balance, not just on our the polarity aspect, but on our physical body. And like I said, we're going to focus on these two chakras. But other things may come up, and if other things come up, we will deal with them as they come up. When you come here tomorrow, I would wear real simple clothes and try to leave your jewelry home. Probably not your wedding ring, you can get in trouble. But try to leave as much metal and stuff home. And just wear sweatpants if you got them, and t-shirt. I'm just going to wear a t-shirt tomorrow and something real simple. I don't know what. And we're going to be working. From 9 till 12, we're going to discuss healing and what different ideas about this, because those ideas, people have a lot of ideas of what this means, and I would like to present some of mine and also discuss whatever you have to say about it also. And then we're going to have only an hour for lunch from 12 to 1. And then we're going to spend about 6 hours with healing. Every person in this room is going to be in the healing chamber for 25 minutes. And this is a very specific form of healing, which has to do with what people call sound healing. But it's not sound using instruments, it's the human voice. And in the ancient world, the human voice could heal anything. And tomorrow I'll actually show you scientifically why the human voice can heal anything. There is a relationship between your voice and all physiological aspects of life and at all levels of existence. And a sound can do a lot. Just look what happens when you sing to your baby and it's crying. You can change things with this, but you can change a lot more than just little things. You can change big things inside of yourself. And this was presented to me by Archangel Michael. I'll tell you the story tomorrow of how we found out about this. And I know I've been in Australia with the Aboriginals, and they use didgeridoos to work on your chakras and heals. And that's again using sound with breath, moving through it. And but this is really simple. It is not difficult or hard. And at this point, like even in Germany, when they found out about this, they use it in family therapy, because they bring their families together to do these things. They can alter the way families relate to each other. It's really a beautiful thing. A lot of people come to this workshop and that's all they can remember. Is what happened tomorrow, was on the second day. That's all I need. And there was a time when it was very hard for me personally, because I had to do, for me, it's a very intense psychic level of work. And I would get exhausted sometimes. When I've learned how now not to get exhausted, but I used to. And so there was a point many years ago when I said, I think I'll put something else in this day. And it was really just because it was too hard. And then I noticed that it didn't work very well because people needed that. And it was really clear. I was somewhere in Europe at one point, and I decided to put it back in, and the difference was so amazing. And so I know I can't remove it. And so you're going to experience something that's very beautiful. And I have seen this heal everything you can think of. When people get into this state of sound, they can just let go of anything. I've seen so much now that it's just I have no expectations. Just whatever happens, happens. I've had one lady who was, where was I, in Holland, and she had shattered her right knee and she couldn't walk. It was just like this. That was all. She couldn't bend it. And she was with a crutch. And we got into this and did the whole thing, and she just stood up and jumped and threw her crutch all across the room and broke it against a wall. She said, I don't need that thing anymore, and just started walking around the room. That was about 10, 12, 13 years ago. And I see her at different places around the world. She goes, it's still good. You know, and I've seen everything happen. I've seen things that are just totally impossible and considered miracles, but it's not. It's just, it's the nature of the reality. And all things are possible. All things, anything is possible. I don't care how bad it is, it's still possible. It just depends on what we will allow to let go, and what we will allow to for us personally to be able to accept into our bodies. So anyway, tomorrow I kind of recommend that you bring anything soft you can find anywhere, because we're going to be on the floor for a long time. Okay. I think that's it. And thank you. We made it through the first day. Okay. Day 1 is now complete. You can continue on to day 2 of our continuing journey.